Hello students, welcome to our 10th lesson. Today we are going to discuss about tourism marketing. Are you ready? Let's begin. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to define marketing, clarify the uniqueness of tourism marketing, explain the importance of marketing orientation, market segmentation, and product life cycle to tourism marketing, and discuss the elements of the strategic marketing process. So first, let us define marketing. Marketing consists of all those activities necessary to bring a product or service from the manufacturer to the end user. These activities include the product or service itself, the methods of distribution, the methods of pricing, the methods of promotion, the form of selling, and the form of advertising. Therefore, marketing does not only include about advertising and promotion, but it includes first the conceptualization of what kind of product you're going to offer to the market, and this will include researching. And you're going to develop these products, identify your target market, its pricing, what type of product you're going to deliver, and then after that, you sell, you advertise, and then of course you need to evaluate. So marketing is a whole process, okay? So in tourism, marketing is the systematic process by which an organization tries to maximize tourist demand satisfaction through research, forecasting, and the selection of tourism products and services to meet that demand. Another definition is it is a management philosophy which, in the light of tourist demand, makes it possible through research, forecasting, and selection to place tourism products on the market in line with the organization's purpose for the greatest benefit. So in tourism, tourism demand is very important, and we need to know what kind of supply or what kind of tourism products and services we need to match to the demand of our market for them to for us to have 100% satisfaction. Okay, so now let us identify the uniqueness of tourism marketing, because as we all know, tourism is kind of different in terms of marketing compared to other industries. So first, tourism is a service. Most of the things that we provide in tourism is more on in a form of service. Though we have products, but large part of marketing in tourism is in a form of service. And these are more on intangible things. Okay, so unlike marketing other products in manufacturing industry, for example, a ball pen, a pen is a manufactured product. If it is not being sold in a day, you can store a pen and then you're gonna sold it in the other day, right? Still it belongs to your inventory. But in tourism, our product is more on perishable, because if we're gonna not gonna sold it in a day, we cannot store it, and then it will be considered a loss forever. Example, a lost sale in a hotel. For example, your hotel has a 200 rooms available, but there are only 150 bookings in one night. So the other 50 available rooms will be considered as a loss, and it cannot be stored for the next sale because it will be considered lost forever. Okay. Next is the service provided is usually composed of several components. In tourism, since most of our products is in a form of intangible things or services, this is composed of different components. What are these components? These are transportation, accommodation, food and beverage, and other things like souvenirs, attractions, and the like, right? So in tourism, one performance of one of the components may affect the other components. Like what happened during our tour, like 2 years ago, we had experienced, because usually in a tour, it is in the form of package, right? And we have experienced upon going to the destination, the bus stopped because it encountered a technical problem. And that bad experience have affected the full satisfaction of the tourists. because even though it's just the starting point of the tour, they were able to experience bad thing. So it affected the other flow of the tour. Okay, they will say, "Oh, I had a very experience when we had a tour in blah 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 blah," because it will affect the whole experience of the tourists. Another example: when a tourist come here in the Philippines, of course, that tourist will be encountering tour guides, right? If the tour guide uh, has a bad performance when encountering with the tourists, the tourist may say, "Oh, I had a very bad experience in the Philippines because the tour guide was very bad." Right? So it's just a portion of the tour, not the whole thing, despite of all the good experiences that the tourist had while he went here in the Philippines, it will affect his overall experience. So that's kind of unique in the tourism industry. Next is travel intermediaries are a necessity. So since most of the suppliers in tourism industry are far from their customers, travel intermediaries are a necessity. And since we are composed of different components, like when we are going to offer a tour package, then we need to acquire the services of travel agents and tour operators to put them into one package. And lastly is tourism demand is highly elastic, seasonal in character, and subject to change in taste and fashion. So tourism is a dynamic industry. We are changing depending on the current trends. Our customer behavior is changing. It is seasonal because we have high season, lean season. It means that there are times that we have a lot of tourists, and there are also times that we don't have any tourists at all. So we need to adapt to those factors. So for us to properly apply what type of marketing strategy that we're going to use, we are going to use a marketing orientation. So first is product orientation. So a product orientation emphasizes the products or services that are available. So in product orientation, you need to develop your supply. Okay, you need to develop your product, and then the best product will be chosen by the market. It is applicable when there is a surplus of demand over supply. So most of the resorts will develop their products, market. Then they are going to focus on the quality of products that they are going to offer to the market, regardless of the customer's needs and wants. While in customer orientation or consumer orientation, it places the tourist's needs and wants foremost in the mind of the marketer who seeks to provide a product or service that will satisfy those needs and wants. Hence, in consumer orientation, it is usually applied when there is high supply than demand. So in here, you're looking at the needs and wants of your consumer, and then you need to provide them by providing them your products and services. So in product orientation, you are very focused on what type of product you're going to offer. And in customer orientation, you are very focused on what are the needs and wants of your customers. And lastly, we have societal marketing approach or societal orientation. So it focuses on the satisfaction of tourist needs and wants while respecting the long-term interests of the community. So it does not only focus on the products, on the consumer, but it focuses in the community as a whole. So for us also to meet the demands of our tourists, then we need to divide them, right? So we called it as market segmentation. So market segmentation is the process of grouping together our market depending on these criteria. So we have four criteria in forming our market segmentation. First is socioeconomic or demographic segmentation. So it is in a form of grouping them by age, by sex, education, income. So it is the most common market segmentation that we use because it is easier to collect data using the socioeconomic and demographic data. Next is product-related segmentation. So product-related segmentation is that you're gonna group your market on the type of product that you're going to offer. Okay, so the advantage of this is that you know what kind of product, you know what kind of market based on the product you're going to target. All right, so example of product related segmentation, we have transportation mode, accommodation style, and types of attraction, okay, that our customers availed of. The third one is psychographic segmentation. So in psychographic segmentation, we are looking into the psychographic characteristics of our market on their behavior, on how they are going to avail the products, on example is their lifestyle or their length of stay in the destination, what are their behaviors in buying the products, like that. And lastly is geographic segmentation. It is the most important criteria in the tourism industry because most likely destinations are grouping their market depending on their geographic location, because we need to identify if we are going to target local tourists, domestic tourists, or international tourists. So we have different segmentation assumptions. First, the market for a product or service, such as vacation, comprises particular segments whose members have particular needs and preferences related to the product or service being marketed. Second, these potential tourists can be grouped into segments whose members have similar characteristics. And third, single product offering, such as a trip to Baguio, will appeal to some market segments more than the others. So if one product, for example, going to the beach, will appear to some tourists, it may not be appealing to other types of tourists. Some firms and organizations can improve their marketing efforts by developing specific product offerings to reach specific market segments. So after identifying the market segments, it is necessary to select which segments the destination would like to attract and serve, and the segments chosen will become the target market. The process of selection and the corresponding decisions to develop a marketing program suitable to meet the needs of these segments is known as positioning. So positioning is the process of identifying what type of market you're going to target and what will be your actions for you to meet the demands of your market. So now let us discuss about the product life cycle. So product life cycle, it undergoes different stages. So the first stage is introduction. So in this phase, usually companies experience lots of failures because it is in this stage that we're going to introduce a new product. After that is the growth stage. So at this stage, we are starting to have a higher sales. So our sale is increasing. And after that is maturity. This means that we have already acquired a higher sales and we have penetrated the marketplace. And next to that is saturation. So during this stage, our sales is in its highest peak. And lastly is decline. So if we are not going to develop or innovate our product, it may experience decline in the market. So to avoid decline stage, you will know this when you start to lower your sales, okay? If you observe that your sales are decreasing, then you need to innovate new things. You need to research again, what are the current trends, what will be new marketing strategies that you need to comply. Now, let's talk about the strategic marketing process. So we have 6 steps in determining a marketing strategy. First is we need to identify the market segment. We need to group our market. Then determine the preferences of the market segment. Okay, what do they like? What kind of product they're going to avail? Then we need to determine what influences the segment most. Would it be price, product, image, sales persuasion, customer service, product availability, and the like? And we need also to realize the importance of 2 clients. We have the traveler and the travel intermediary, such as the travel agent or tour operator. So take note that in tourism, we have 2 types of consumers or clients, okay? The traveler itself and the travel intermediaries. Next, we need to determine the marketing mix that will influence the segment identified. And lastly is we need to establish a price policy that will maximize profits by balancing the number of tourists with the capacity of the attraction. Do not forget, guys, that when you're going to market a tourist destination, you must always consider the carrying capacity of the destination. Okay? So we have here three elements of strategic marketing. First is market planning, next is target market selection, and lastly is the marketing mix selection. For the market planning process, it will start with a collection of data. So in the collection of data, it will involve researching, conducting surveys. It could be through in a form of interview or in a form of survey questionnaire. So we have two types of collection of data. It could be in a form of primary source, wherein we need uh, to really conduct a survey personally, and the other one is secondary sources. It could be we can get information online, data from the Department of Tourism, so like that. So the first one, the primary sources, it's more expensive and it's more on a detailed or thorough process because we need to personally get the data from the respondents themselves. Next is we need to analyze those data. Okay, after we gather or we collect all the data, we need to analyze and interpret them. And then after that, we need to identify different alternative strategies for reaching the desired goal. So we can have a lot of strategies, alternative strategies. So we need to identify what are those. Like for example, if you're gonna sail an airline could use different strategies. It could offer seat selections. It could also offer promotions. Like now, they have a lot of promotions for them to increase their sales. So after that, you need to analyze the cost and the benefit. Okay, you need to individually analyze what will be the costs, how much will be the cost, or what will be the benefit of each of the alternative strategies that you have listed. Then after that, um, those strategies that has the least cost and most benefit should be selected. Okay, and then after that, you need to plan. Then after planning, you need to create control procedures on how you're going to conduct your marketing program. And then lastly is you need to implement your plan. Okay, so in this stage, it is more on how you're going to present your marketing program, like that, all the information, including your marketing plan. Next is target market selection. So there are 4 steps in identifying target markets suggested by the Tourism USA. So first is estimate the approval of an area's attractions, estimate the distance in both travel time and travel costs, identify the potential target markets geographically by locating the population clusters within the maximum distance determined from the estimated travel time and the lure of the attraction, and lastly is identify the actual and potential competition in the target market. So the behavioral characteristics of potential travelers are very important in identifying target markets, and people travel for different reasons. Take note of that. Some are interested in historical or cultural activities, while others prefer sports events or entertainment. That's why we have a lot of types of tourists, because we have different preferences and interests. So research can determine the behavioral target markets that would be best suited for the particular product and match the attractions with those who are most likely to enjoy them, and let the tourists know their existence through promotion. So we need to have supply and demand matching. Now let's discuss about marketing mix. So in this, for the purpose of this discussion, we will only be discussing the first two part, the product and price, because promotion and distribution will be discussed in different chapters. Okay, so first is product. So several criteria should be met in deciding to provide a product or service. So there should be a heavy demand for the product or service from at least one important segment, with the possibility of additional business from other segments of the market. New products and services should suit the general image of the destination area and complement existing ones. New products and services should be offered in accordance with the available supply of workforce, money, and natural resources, and any added products or service should contribute to the profit and our growth of the entire destination. So product is the most important consideration that we have when forming our marketing mix because it is the main thing that we're gonna offer to our market. Next is price. So price is the result of supply and demand. So it is influenced by competition and related to the needs of the market segment that is served. So we need to consider a lot when forming the prices of our specific products. It will depend on what kind of product that you're going to offer, who will be your target market, what is the current competition in your marketplace, and what are the costs in your product. So you need to consider all those things before formulating your price. All right, so that's the end of our lesson. If you have questions, you may ask them during our virtual class meeting. See you!